Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU. Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. This is number 59. I'm joined today by Tracy Perlman, Executive Producer with WCCO in Minneapolis, a KU alum. Welcome, Tracy.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Rock Shock.
How's the weather in Minneapolis? Is it cold like it has been in Kansas for a couple of weeks?
It's cold and cloudy. We're not quite as cold as you guys. It has warmed up a little bit, so won't boast about that too much. But it's getting a little above freezing, so I'm happy with that.
So, Tracy, I know Minneapolis is your hometown. So what has it been like working in your hometown for, has it been about 15 years or close to it?
It's been almost 15 years, yeah. And I interned here before all that too. So this is a newsroom I'm super familiar with. It's been awesome. I'm really, really fortunate to have grown up in a really strong news market, and then to also be able to, after graduation, get a job here as quickly as I did. So I tell a lot of students, instead of bouncing around to a bunch of markets, picking up different jobs and working different shifts, I kind of got all that different market experience just here in our newsroom, working weekends, mornings, nightside, field producing, doing all that. Now I'm like you said, dayside executive producer, and I also oversee sports. So a little bit of everything.
Is it safe to say you're working your dream job or close to it?
This isn't a travel show. I'm very public that I would love a travel show, but this is it as far as what I always hoped to do once I learned what producing was. This is where I wanted to work. And so I'm really excited that I have had so many opportunities here to do it as well.
So your interest in producing, did that start like early in your life, or did you know what that was when you were growing up, or how did that sort of develop over time?
I've always loved news and always wanted to work in news. I wanted to be a reporter because that's what you saw on TV. And then it was actually during an internship one summer away from KU that I was a producing intern, and I thought that was really neat, and it was cool to just learn how the pieces all come together. But I remember the first day of a mentorship I had in high school, my senior year. The reporter I was with was talking about the different roles in a newsroom, and she was like, "These are the producers. They pick the stories and write them and research them." And I remember thinking, like, how thankless. Like, that just sounds like a terrible job. And then lo and behold, I've completely fell in love with it. I went back to KU and told my professor, it was Dick Nelson at the time at KUJH, like, nope, I want to be a producer. I want to learn producing. I don't want to do this reporting thing anymore. So he put me on the straight and narrow track to be a producer. I was in charge of stuff at KUJH. Came back to learn more producing here, and that has been my track. I love being able to have my hand in everything, tell people what to do. I always joke, like, you're the puppet master with the strings. You get to boss everybody around. So that's the thing I love doing. My favorite job in the newsroom by far.
So when I think of Minneapolis and TV, I think of Mary Tyler Moore. Is that still a thing in Minneapolis? I mean, that might be a little before your time, but I know they have that nice statue.
Yes.
I think they still have that statue.
Yes, we have a statue of Mary it's right outside of what was Dayton's, a department store that was here forever. Now was a Macy's. Now it's just another building downtown with her throwing her hat up in the air. So no, Mary Tyler Moore is very much a thing here. When the house that they shot exteriors with goes up for sale, we always do those stories. I remember Mary Tyler Moore from the Nick at Night reruns. But of course, everybody talks about her and, being a producer too behind the scenes. There's a lot of newsroom antics that definitely leak into our newsroom all the time.
So do you have a Ted Baxter that you work with?
I can't say, just in case my bosses see that. I hope I'm not the Ted Baxter. It might be me.
And Tracy, I know you talked about your time at KUJH. Can you kind of elaborate like what that experience was like? I mean, did you do a lot of different things, or did something there kind of spark that interest?
Yeah, so obviously with the reporting class, we did some reporting, and a lot of times the partner I worked with wanted to be on air a little more than I did. And so he would do the on-camera stuff, and I did a lot more of the editing and writing, which should have been a precursor to me that producing was what I love doing. And then I did the producing 1 or 2 days a week, and I think I anchored a day or two, but I always seem to not feel so great on those anchoring days, and other people got opportunities. So that may have also been a signal. But once I knew I wanted to be a producer, and when I came back going into my senior year, I was like the TA for the lab. So I was producing shows 3-4 days a week and helping the producers or reporters with their writing to get the shows done and timing it in the booth. At the time, we were doing daily newscasts, like a half-hour newscast with weather, sports, and reporting. We played around with live shots from the newsroom. We didn't quite have the technology then. And when I was back on campus earlier this year, I got to see the old KUJH lab, which is now a classroom, and the old TV studio, which is just a morgue at this point. So it was really cool to see the changes that they've made and how they've really grown the program into more of a nonlinear digital program. We didn't have any of those capabilities when I was there, and it wasn't that long ago.
And I should have asked you this sooner. We do have students from Minnesota come here quite frequently. Do you have a KU story? Did you have any KU connections, or what brought you to KU?
No, I had friends who were older who went there, and so I was familiar with it. I didn't want to stay local. As so many of my friends went to school in the area. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go. I'm going to give it a whirl. They've got a good journalism program. I love the basketball program. I'm a huge sports fan. So that was fun and something different. I knew if I didn't like it, I could always go home, but I loved it. So I still love going down to Lawrence. It's a great city.
And I know I met you, I think a year or so ago. I know you dropped by, and I know you've spoken to like Al Wallace's class. And did you connect with Al probably with one of your first jobs at Fox 4?
Yep. Yeah. My very first job at Fox 4, and Al was actually nights. He was the sports director. I was on weekends, weekend mornings, and then mornings. And so we would like literally cross paths at night when I was coming in and he was going out. But we stayed friends, and we like to kind of talk smack to one another when the Twins and Royals are playing and kept in touch. So it's been really fun coming back down and connecting with students and talking at classes that I once took is wild, but it's a lot of fun. I enjoy coming down and talking with students.
So Tracy, during your time at KU or early in your career, or maybe even now, have you had a lot of mentors that have helped you along the way, or people you've relied on?
Absolutely. I would be nowhere near where I am without mentors. As I mentioned, in high school, we had a mentor program. There was a reporter who used to work at CCO who went to my high school, and I reached out kind of like a naive sophomore and just said, like, I think it's so cool you're doing the job that I want to do. And we kind of had this little email pen palship, and that turned into a high school mentorship my senior year, which then helped me get my internship going into junior year of college at KU. And then about producing, wanted to be a producer. So then they created a producing internship for me here. I met some other reporters and producers and managers who really helped my career and helped me get back here as quickly as I did. I worked at Fox 4 for just under 2 years in Kansas City before coming back to Minneapolis. So I'm a huge believer in mentorships, internships, and then paying it forward. One of the guys I used to work with always talks about sending the elevator back down. And I believe in that so much.
Now, did you have to apply for your current job, or is it one of those things say, hey, Tracy, we're familiar with the work, it's time for you to come back home, or how did that process?
Yeah, it was kind of both. I was under contract, and so I had been keeping in touch with everybody here, but they had an opening and I saw it. So it was sort of a like, well, what's this about? And oh, we were going to call you about that. So I was very lucky to come back as quickly as I did, but it's really just because of those relationships and having experience as a producer and not getting that experience outside of college, but actually having it in college was huge. Because it's hard to teach producing. You have to actually do it. You can't really practice it.
Now, how big is your the team that you oversee?
I think there's 100 and some of us in the newsroom, and so I maybe oversee, if you count in, photographers and engineers and everybody, probably like 75. But I would say day to day with the reporter and photographer teams, maybe 25 to 30 people.
Now, what's been the key to kind of managing a team of that size, and how do you make sure everybody's kind of moving forward in the right direction?
It's just whack-a-mole. Every day's different. Lots of juggling in the air. Yeah, a lot of it's just managing expectations. We have a really good management team, so we're able to distribute responsibilities pretty successfully and kind of communicate when stuff comes up. But there's also an understanding of professionalism within the newsroom, so people kind of know when to hold their own, when to reach out for help, or when to interject if you need to interject as well. So that really helps. And then just the vast amount of experience. Like, this newsroom is one where people don't turn over very quickly. A lot of people have been here a long time. Like, I'm by no means an old employee at 15 years. And so because of that too, you can really rely on people to help guide you and help you set your course if you need help with something.
Now, 15 years in your career, I mean, I did newspaper sports writing for 16. Always thought there was like a rush. I mean, just that day to day, getting things out. I mean, do you still have that rush, or is it just?
Oh yeah, every day.
Sure.
It's fun. You never know what you're going to walk into in the morning. Like, you think you do and you don't. Or, like today I was saying, I'm the only manager who's here right now, able to like check scripts, build graphics, talk with reporters, quality control video. And so, so there's always the days where you get really bored when there's not a lot happening. And those are actually harder days than the days when there's a lot happening and it's pretty chaotic. But I think I thrive in that chaotic scene. It's fun. We've got Joe Mauer's heading into the Hall of Fame. We hope today that vote's going to be announced in 2 hours. So we're on countdown for that. We've got a city council meeting that's getting pretty fired up. We're monitoring. The weather's changing constantly. So there's just a lot happening, and it's fun to just be at the heartbeat of it and to see what's going on.
You mentioned Joe Mauer and kind of your love for sports, and I think it looks like you're a big baseball fan. I saw some stories on you. It looks like you do a lot with the Twins. You do some production.
I do a lot with the Twins. Yeah. So that was kind of my way into the sports world here. Was I've had a big good relationship with them for the last 15 years since I've been here. I've always loved the Twins, Wild, Vikings. And so we used to have a Twins blog when everyone had a blog. Now everyone has a podcast, but we had a blog, and that was kind of how I got into it, and then started building those relationships with the front office, the players, and kind of built out a little niche for me. But yeah, so now I oversee the sports department, and we have a lot of fun with that. With all the pro teams, we've got if there's a pro team, Minnesota has one, including the women's professional hockey team. We have a minor league women's soccer team that's hoping to go pro. We've obviously got the Lynx as well. And so it's really fun. We do a ton with high school sports. That's huge here, especially hockey and football. So it's a lot of fun, and there's always something cooking. And we have one of the smallest sports departments in the Twin Cities, but pump out some of the strongest content, I think, by far.
So if Joe Mauer gets a call, are you taking that trip to Cooperstown?
Gosh, I hope so. I would. I would love to. I'm hoping to.
Great trip. I made that trip.
Yeah. So Joe's only 2 years older than me, so we went to rival high schools. So we've got a lot of mutual friends, and I'm really keeping my fingers crossed for him. He's a great guy, and I'd like to say my career has mirrored his, but it hasn't. I just happen to be there along the way for all of his milestones.
And I noticed you've won a few awards. I think you were recognized a couple of years ago, 40 under 40, and I know you've won some Emmys. What do those awards mean to you, or do you just kind of keep moving on, or how do you respond to those?
They're fun. I think the 40 under 40 is one I'm really proud of. That came from the Minneapolis St. Paul Business Journal, and recognized not only what I do at work with CCO and kind of the platform I have with that, but also the work I've done outside the community. I am a sucker for all things that are like kids and accessibility and education. So being able to do a lot of work in those places that bring me so much joy mean a lot. So that recognition was really neat. And then, yeah, the Emmys are pretty cool. I gave my first one to my parents. They paid for college. So I was like, thank you. Here you go. Here is your representation of my college. But it's cool. It's a nice recognition. I always tell people you're not going to get hired or fired, whether it's a, NPPA award or an AP award, or I have a couple SPs or SJPs as well. But I do think it is a nice recognition to kind of mark that chapter or whatever those stories are. A couple of mine are for weather coverage, so that's always big. You remember those moments. And then couple for Prince too. I won two in regards to Prince. We had the George Floyd riot. I won an Emmy for that. So that's not one, you're going to be like, look at the great job I did, but you do remember and look back on that week span of everything that happened and all that breaking news and how you got through it and how your team got through it. And you're pretty proud of them. And then I just leave them around my house for my friends to take pictures with when they come over. So they enjoy that.
You mentioned George Floyd. I mean, that story captured the nation's attention. What was that week like? I mean, but that was nonstop.
It was surreal. And at that time I was night's IDP. So, everything was so calm and peaceful during the day and really moving. And then all of a sudden at night, it would get dark and it would just, chaos would erupt. And we were in the booth, in the control room for hours on end. And you're just going from one reporter to the next and you're trying to get information as fast as possible. And you kind of can't stop and think, this is my neighborhood, or this is happening right outside our door. Our building, our newsroom is right downtown. Like I look across the street at Target Corp. We've got Skyway systems all around us. I'm 4 or 5 blocks from the Target Center where the Timberwolves play, and Target Field where the Twins are. And we've got, military grade tanks outside of our building and the armed National Guard and armed guards in our building. And we're reporting on what's happening and our reporters are in the middle of it. And so it was, surreal, and you don't have time to stop and think what's happening and take it in until you lay down at night. And at that point it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning by the time you leave the building. But it's hard and you have to kind of disassociate in the time. But when you look back on it, you go, wow, we made it through this and we did it in a smart way, in a thoughtful way, a way with context that helped our viewers understand what was going on and who was upset and why, and not just show the crazy pictures. I think we did as good of a job as we could do and the best that we could do, for sure.
You mentioned you gave that first Emmy to your parents. So did they have that on display for a while, or is it still on display?
It is very proudly on display at their house. Yes. They really like it when we take a family photo in front of the fireplace, but it's just off to the side. But yeah, no, they're proud of that one, and that particular story was a really special one to me too. So it was cool to win for it, and then also to be able to give it to them is pretty neat.
I know you're on a busy schedule. One last question I always like to ask. So the class of 2024, what advice would you have for them as they enter a career in communications, broadcasting, producing? Is there one thing they should know?
Yeah, I would say just go for it. Apply for the job if it seems interesting and challenging to you. Try for the stories that sound hard. Try to get the interviews that sound like a challenge. That if it scares you, it'll help you grow. And so you're the only one who can decide what that is, because what's easy to me may not be easy for you. So go for the thing that scares you. Go for the city that's going to challenge you, for the newsroom that's going to try to make you better, for the assignments that are going to make you stop and think. And don't be afraid to ask for help, because everybody has gotten to where they are by somebody lending a hand and helping. And sometimes you don't realize somebody needs that help or wants that handout. And so ask for suggestions, ask for feedback, ask for the opportunity, and then take it and knock it out of the park.
Well, Tracy, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. It's been fascinating to follow, your 15 years there and producing. And I always like to say,